Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeri Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Chaitanyam Sarvagam Sarvam Sarvabhuta Guhashayam Yat Sarva Vishayatitam Tasmai Sarva Vide Namaha. Sudhav? Verse 13. Maharajadayo lokaha Mayyadvat prakalpitaha Swapne tadvadvayam vidyad Rupam vasanaya saha. Yadvat, just as Swapne, in the dream, Maharajadayo Lukaha Mai Prakalpitaha. Just as in the dream, the Lokaha, the worlds, which are Karma Phalani, whatever I experience in dream, or at any time for that matter, but in dream, is the karma phala, the result of my past actions. Just to explain the reason why the dream is there as a fulfillment of my past karma, and why is it what it is. What's the reason why the dream is what it is? What is the configuration of dream? Maharaja Devlokaha. The cause of the particular configuration of dream are the vasanas. Samskaras are impressions of the experiences which are carried forward from the waking state. Which impressions, samskaras or vasanas, are imprinted in the mind because that is how the setup is, that every experience leaves its imprint upon the mind. Many experiences will be there which do not leave any noticeable imprint, and therefore they are as good as disappear. There are some experiences that leave memorable imprints, good or bad, pleasant or unpleasant. which are not resolved in the mind. And therefore, the mind carries them forward. And some of these strong impressions then find their expression in the dream. So that is the reason why Maharaja. This person is a Maharaja. He is a sovereign, he is the emperor. So he has those impressions of my being emperor. And then in the dream also he sees himself as an emperor. And goes out into his own territory with his retinue. This is what that king has been doing on occasions. Therefore, those impressions are imprinted in the mind of the king. So those impressions then manifest themselves as though the tangible world of dream. Tangible, or what is experienced, that world of dream, is the result of the intangible vasanas, samskaras, carried forward from the past experiences. You can call them karma phala. So this experience of a Maharaja, a dream of a Maharaja, dreaming himself as a Maharaja, understand, is clearly a projection because the Maharaja is sleeping in his bed. And he experiences himself as going out in his territory along with his retinue, which experience requires a vast area. It is well known that there is no vast area in the dream because the dream experience takes place in a very fine nerve called hita, where there is no room for anything for that matter. So that is an important reason to establish that what was experienced in dream was not real. Not that there was a real Maharaja who went to his real territory, etc. In that way it is established that it was a projection of the mind. So whole dream world is a projection. The Maharaja, the retinue, the territory, the experiences, all of them. So then Maharaja is, the whole thing is projected. So Maharaja is projected, his body is projected, his mind is projected, his impressions are projected, his sense organs, all the things in the dream are all projected. So this is how the dream is mithya or projection, is very clearly established from the impossibility of dream being real. Therefore, it is very evident and established logically also, and by our experience, that dream is mithya, a projection. And of course, the whole dream is negated when you wake up, then also you know it is mithya. So this is taken as an example. Illustration, drishtanta is something which is agreed upon by all the parties. There are parties who claim that dream is the real experience. Then in fact the Maharaja goes out to his territory and experiences things. In reply to that, this is told that there is no possibility at all of this what you claim to be happening. Therefore, dream is purely a projection of mind. That's called mithya. So everything in the dream is mithya. In the dream there is a gross world, his gross body is there, gross objects are there, he experiences. So whatever the dreamer experiences through his organs of perception is called sthulam, which the dreamer experiences. All the sthulam is known to be product of the sukshma or the vasanas So while experiencing sthulam, the sukshma also is experienced. And while experiencing sukshma, the locus of sukshma also is experienced, because without experiencing the locus, you cannot experience what is located. And therefore, when you say dream is mithya, the gross, tangible names and forms, including his gross body and the gross world, and the vasanas or impressions from which this is born. And since vasanas always require a locus, so mind or subtle body, all of these are established to be a projection or mithya. So first we should get this example very clearly, that dream is mithya on account of the reason that it is not possible that such an experience could be unless it has been projected by the mind. Then, just as yatra yatra dhumah tatra tatra vannihi, wherever the smoke is, there the fire is. Yatha mahanasya, because that is what we find in our kitchen stove and elsewhere. So from the experience of the kitchen stove and other places, it is established that wherever smoke is, there must be fire. Smoke cannot be without fire, whether we see the fire or not. In case of kitchen and many other places, we see the coexistence of smoke and fire. Therefore, it is established that the smoke cannot be without fire. So, elsewhere we see the smoke only and not fire, then smoke becomes the chinha, the linga, the evidence of establishing the existence of fire. Similarly, when the dream is mithya, whenever you find the characteristics like dream, then that is mithya. So waking also, when we analyze, there also a similar experience of setup is there, that I go out, I experience things, there is an experiencer, object of experience, I have a body, I have sense organs, I have mind, all of this is in waking state. All of this was in dream state also. And the dream state is established to be mithya. Therefore, wherever this setup is there, there is mithya. Therefore, waking in which there is a setup similar to dream, where there is an experiencer, he has a body, sense organs, mind, object of experience, all this setup is there. That setup is essentially the same, not identical, essentially the same as dream. Therefore, the waking also, which is just chinha. So that setup becomes chinha or evidence or linga to establish the mithyatvam. That linga also obtains in the waking state. Or the experiencer experienced, the experiencer has a gross and subtle body, what is experienced also is gross and subtle. Therefore, the waking world, which has a pattern similar to the dream, must be mithya. So that is how in the waking, therefore, what we experience, in the dream also we experience the murta, amurta, the tangible, intangible, the gross and the subtle, the effect and the cause. Therefore, all these gross and subtle, the effect and cause, tangible, intangible, you experience in waking, is also mithya. तद्वद्वयं विद्या रूपं वासनया सह प्रकल्पिताः स्वप्ने Just as whatever the experienced and the experiencer, both of them were projected in the dream, tadvat, in a manner similar to that, in waking also, this duality or this pair of two, the tangible, intangible, gross, subtle, effect, cause, along with its cause, vasana, all of this also is mithya. So last line is तथा च वासनाश्रय लिंग शरीर सहितस्य मूर्तामूर्त रूप स्थूलस्यापि. So in the dream, just as Murta was there, the tangible, intangible was there, along that was mithya, along with the vasana, which created that Murta in dream, along with the ashraya of that vasana in the dream, which was the mind, or you can call it subtle body. They keep on using linga sharira. It's mind which carries the impressions. But mind is the predominant aspect of the subtle body, therefore it is subtle body carry, because subtle body transports from one place to another. So just as the Murta in the dream, along with the vasanas that created the Murta in dream, along with subtle body which was the locus of those vasanas, all of this is mithya in the dream. Similarly also, the Murta in the waking, along with vasana that created that, along with subtle body that is the locus of vasana, all of these are kalpitam, drugatmani kalpitam. All drishya in the dream was kalpita, projected upon the drashta. So also all the drishya in the waking is projected upon the drashta. The drashta, drishya, the entire setup is mithya. Tad drishyatvat upannam eva iti tatparyartah. Drugatmani kalpitatvam tad drishyatvat drug drishyatvat. All the drishya is projected upon drashta because they are all projected by drashta. All drishya, they are all objectified by the drashta. So in the dream it is established that whatever is objectified is projected. So also in the waking also, drishyam, whatever is objectified, the murta, the vasana ashraya, is also all kalpitam, kalpitatvam, upapadnyam. Therefore, that all of this is kalpitam, the murta, the vasana ashraya, in the waking also, is all kalpitam projected upon the drashta, just as it was in the dream. Therefore, there is no real dream. Some people argue that dream experience takes place. So therefore this verse shows, based on the passage of Upanishad, that there is no way to establish the reality of the dream. And therefore, dream is mithya, waking is mithya, drishya is mithya, duality is mithya, kartrutva bhoktrutva is mithya. So karta bhokta is mithya. And therefore there is no duality. Karta bhokta is mithya, duality is mithya, though non-duality is true. That's the whole idea here. Now continuing, स्वप्न प्रपंचवत जागृत प्रपंचस्यापि प्रत्यगात्मनि कल्पितत्वे सिद्धे. The previous verse, Siddhe established that Swapna Prapanchavat, like the Prapancha or the world of dream, Jagrat prapanchasyapi pratyagatmani kalpitatve siddhe. Just as the dream prapancha or the dream world is proven to be projected in the dreamer, so also the waking world is projected upon the waker. This was established in the previous verse. It is Siddhe. So now taking this knowledge with us, Pratyak Tattvabhignasya Karma Sambhava Siddha Idyaha. Pratyak Tattva Abhignasya. So one who has the knowledge of one's own self, that everything, the whole duality comprising of the drashta, drishya, karta, karma, kriya, all of this is projected, not real. Therefore, whatever consequences are there, on account of giving reality, this karta, karma, kriya also are not real. So there are the Mimamsakas who give reality to the setup of karta, karma, kriya, karma, phala, etc. It's all right as long as you do not know the truth, and therefore for you the karta, karma are real, so long all those is okay. But for the one who has recognized that all this is just a show, it is the projection of mind based on the gunas, he doesn't need to follow these rules now. As long as a person does not know that this is drama, so long he has to follow the rules. Because this is all play, drama. Then it's your choice whether to follow, but then you are no more compelled, the compulsion is gone. Vedanta's interest is not in establishing that wise person does not perform karma. Because performing karma is not bondage. The compulsion to perform karma is bondage. The compulsion can come either because you have needs or the desire to fulfill, so they compel you to do things. Or compulsion can come because you feel that you are obliged to do something. That you are being obliged by the setup, and therefore you have to return that favor. That sense of gratitude will also bring away pressure within you. That's called kartavya. But when you recognize all of this is a projection, therefore that compulsion is no more there. The wise person will choose to continue to play his role with freedom. Just as an actor who knows the identity, follows all the rules of the play without being compelled. Then it becomes, for that person, a krida. He can choose not to play also. As long as the play is real, he has to play because there is a gain by playing. If the play is mithya, then there is no gain by playing, no loss by not playing. Yastvatmareva syat atmatruptasya manavah atmanyave santushta tasya karyam na vidyate naiva tasya krutena artha na krute neha kasyana naiva tasya krutena artha prayojanam. There is no prayojanam, no purpose to accomplish by performing karma, nor anything to lose by not performing karma. Tasya karyam na vidyate. There is nothing that has to be done by him. There is no compulsion to do anything. Karya, one is compelled to do things. Kartavya. So understand this to be the freedom from compulsion. That's all. Although they keep on saying freedom from karma, it is freedom from compulsion to perform karma, because an ordinary person who has attraction or fascination for sense pleasures, or who looks upon himself Brahmana, Kshatriya, and therefore feels obliged to perform duty, That compulsion is called bondage. Only because of your identity comes from ignorance. By identifying the body, mind, sense complex, you have a notion about yourself, which is what brings about the need to perform karma. That identification creates a sense of limitedness and therefore desires to become free. And also you find that you are part of the whole setup, you are obliged, so therefore there is an obligation to return the favor. Sakama karma and kartavya, both of these are the outcomes of a sense of individuality. When there is not there, so two kinds of compulsions are there. One is compulsion created by desire. Other is compulsion created by the sense of duty or obligation. That is called freedom, where one is free from all these obligations or all these compulsions because his sense of identity is changed. He knows that I am no more an individual entity, although that is my costume, alright, but that's not my swarupa. Therefore, pratyek tattva karma asambhava siddha. Therefore, karma asambhava. There is no compulsion to perform karma for a wise person who knows the truth of his own self. There is no compulsion to do karma is established, all proven, siddha. Therefore, they think he will not perform karma. He can do anything depending on his prarabdha. When the wise person does something, does not do something, what does he or she does is all by prarabdha. He doesn't decide. He doesn't have the burden of even making choices. He is free from the free will. He is free from the need to exercise free will because the free will is an expression of bondage, which you require to become free from bondage. But the free will means the compulsion to make a choice. He is free from that compulsion also. That I have to do this, I cannot do this. So this is what is meant by karma asambhava. By karma we need not understand the karma or action in the form, but the binding aspect of karma. What is the binding aspect? The compulsion is the binding aspect of karma. As far as the form of karma is concerned in terms of various chestas or activities or limbs, there is not a bondage anyway. But I have to do that. That compulsion is the bondage. So really we should understand that the wise person, when it is said that it becomes free from karma, we should understand it becomes free from the binding aspect of karma. His karmas are no more binding. Gata sangasya muktasya jnana vastil chetasah yajnaya acharatah karma samagram praviliyate. Lord Krishna doesn't describe a person like that as free from action. Actionless is one thing and inactive is different thing. So Lord Krishna says yajnaya acharata. He performs karma. He may as well perform karma in the spirit of yajna, spirit of self-offering. Samagram praviliyate. The karma disappears along with karma phala for him. Meaning that what he does has no consequence as far as he is concerned. I am sure no evil anybody else. Always yajnaya acharatah karma. It's a blessing. What does is a blessing. Sometimes this does not become clear when we are reading these arguments because this is argument against Mimamsaka. And Vedantin wants to assert that there is no karma, no kartavya, no karma at all. That may create an impression that a wise person is inactive, which he may very well be. But total inactivity is not possible. Minimum action, or at least bhikshacharanam, or sustaining me, taking care of the body. Even don't go out for begging bhiksha. If it comes to, at least you have to eat that bhiksha. You must clean your body, maintain it. There are Mahatmas who don't even do that. There are extreme avdhutas who don't care to take care of the body also. But then, that is not the primary characteristic of wisdom. That's all we have to say. That may be the prarabdha of that person, which makes him act that way. Which is all right. So the verse 14 says, Dehalingatmana karya. Karyaha, it should be really Dehalingatmana karyaha Vasana rupina kriyaha Neti netyatma rupatvad Name karya kriya kvachita. So first karya is karyaha, second karya is karya. Because kriyaha karyaha. Dehalingatmana vasana rupina. Vasana rupina is the adjective of dehalingatmana. Kriyaha karyaha. First statement. Kriyaha karyaha, the kriya, the action, the duties have to be performed. By whom? Dehalingatmana vasana rupina. Karmani prabhu. So who is this Dehalingatmana vasana rupina? By the one who is Dehalingatma, by the one who is vasana rupi. See the third case. By the one who is Dehalingatma, by the one who is vasana rupi, by that one tena kriyaha karyaha, the duties have to be performed. So Tikakara says kriyaha karmani. Dehalingatmana. Now that is the description of the Atma, of the individual. Dehalingatma is the description of individual who is identified with Deha and Linga, a sthula and sukshma deha. Because that Atma means Swarupa or the notion. Sthula, sukshma, deha rupena, tad abhimanena, tad atmatam apannena. So one who has attained the state of being Dehatma, Deha, and Sthula Deha and Sukshma Deha because of identification. Who has become Sthula Deha, Sukshma Deha? By identifying Sthuloham, Krushoham, and Sukhiyaham, Dukhiyaham, etc. So when I say Sthuloham, Krushoham, I have assumed the state of the gross body. When I say Sukhiyaham, Dukhiyaham, I have assumed the state of the mind. How did that happen? So, Sthula Deha Rupena Abhimanena. But Abhimana, the notion arising from the identification of Sthula Sharira, creates ideas Sthuloham, Krushoham. Sukshma Deha Rupena, similarly, because the identification of Sukshma Deha or the mind, sense organs, etc., idea is Sukhiyam, Dukhiyam. So what is meant is Tadatmadam apannena, one who is Brahman, has, however, attained the state of being the gross and subtle body because of identification. And so who entertains these notions, I am so and so, based on the identification of the gross and subtle bodies. That means an individual, an ego, having sense of individuality, an identity which distinguishes him from everybody else. And so there will be an impulse, I have to do this. Then he has to exercise his free will to do what helps him and avoid what hurts him. Or he has to do things that he thinks that I am obliged to do. It's my duty if he is a self-conscientious person. Karyaha, anushtayaha, kriyaha, karmani. For a person like that who entertains the notions arising from identification of gross and subtle bodies, by that person, that Brahmanam, Kshatriyoham, Sukhiyaham, Dukkhiyaham, by that person, the Kriya, Karya, he has to perform the Kriya or the duties and karma, both Sakama karma and the duties. So by him, then by who? Then who doesn't have to do that? If this person has to perform the action, who is the one who doesn't have to perform action? Says, na punah tad nirapekshena tad abhimanahinena asambhavadityartah abhimanahinena karyaha. No. Tad abhimanahinena. But the one, because this need not be. Abhimana, identification with the gross and subtle bodies, does not necessarily have to be there. Because it is a product of ignorance for the wise person, he has no identification with gross and subtle. He doesn't judge himself by gross and subtle body. Therefore, there is no compulsion of any kind, neither desire nor any duty. Therefore, tad abhimanena tad nirapekshena. So one who is free from abhimana, the identification arising, the identity arising from the identification with the gross and subtle body, who becomes nirapeksha, becomes free from apeksha, from karma. Because karma now has nothing to do with him. Esha nityo mahima brahmanasya navardate karmano kaniyan. Brahmajnani's glory it is not subject to growth or decay by karma. He becomes nirapeksha, he has become totally independent of karma, objective or dispassionate with reference to karma. Perform karma, no gain. Don't perform karma, no loss. He has become free from the idea of gain and loss with reference to karma. He doesn't. One who thinks that there is something to gain by performing karma, to lose by not performing karma, he has to perform them. But he is tad nirapekshena, tad abhimanahinena, na karyaha kriyaha. He doesn't have to do the kriyas. So, by describing who has to do the kriyas, the teacher also describes who doesn't have to do the kriyas. Why is it? Asambhavad. When you are free from the notions about yourself, then it is impossible because you require a notion, Brahmanam, Kshatriyam, Pitaham, Mata, some notion is required about oneself to do something. An action is always performed by an individual having an identity. There is no identity, action which is the result of that identity doesn't take place. Asambhavat. Without abhimanam, without the identity, karma is impossible. Anybody who performs any karma, any activity always has a notion as to who I am. In every situation, before I respond to a situation, a notion arises in me. Who am I? I am father. When my child is there, I am mother. I am son. I am daughter. I am boss, assistant, citizen. Some notion first arises, then only you respond with karma. No notion arises, nothing happens. You try to motivate a person, motivate, and you will get this, then nothing happens sometimes, No motivation. Then no response. If you want somebody to do something, want a response from that individual, create a motivation. That you will stand to gain something by doing this, or stand to lose by not doing it. That will be there for every individual. When I have an identity, I am a king, or even I am prime minister, I am sovereign, then also. Sovereign also, something can be added into that sovereign by doing something, and can be lost by not doing something, your territory can be taken away. So with the identity, the ideas of gain and loss automatically come in. Therefore the karma you have to do. If you don't do, then also you regret whatever, something happens in the mind. Thus always it is an individual having an identity who performs karma. Understand this. There is called wisdom that a person becomes free from identity. Therefore no compulsion. Therefore he can maintain the tranquility of his mind by remaining free from any reaction. A tranquil mind need not be a non-thinking mind. It's a non-reacting mind. You can be active and still be at peace if there is no reaction in the mind. It is reaction that disturbs the peace of mind, not activity of the mind. So Bhagavad Gita emphasizes samatvam yoga uchyate. Nityancha samachittatvam ishtan ishtovapattishu. Samachittatvam is what is taught. Samatvam yoga uchyate. That's what Lord Krishna wants to say. He doesn't want thoughtlessness, because then who won't do anything? He doesn't like that. Lord Krishna doesn't like a person who does not participate. But he likes a person who participates, whose everything participation is blessing. Idea, that's what he would like. He being what he was. And so this is Bhagavad Gita's teaching, that is not opposed to not doing anything, by the way. Lord Krishna is not opposed to a person who abides in his, but he doesn't describe that kind of person generally. He describes a person who is basically active, doing something, contributing. Anyway, so the idea is that action itself is not a problem. It is what motivates the action. A sense of lack, a need, a duty, a compulsion, that is a binding part of action. Anyway, here of course when it said that he is inactive, the wise person is free from any action at all. He is inactive. This is what the Vedanta teaches. Kim lakshanena. So who is that Kim lakshanena goes with karya anushthayaha, not with the sentence that came in between, So Kim lakshanena kriyaha karyaha. Who is the person, with what characteristics the lakshanas, characteristic that person has, which make it obligatory or mandatory for him to perform actions, either compulsion from outside or compulsion from inside. Scriptures will compel you or your mind will compel you. Vasana rupina. So dehalinga atmana is third case. Vasana rupina is the adjective of that. Vasana Rupina Dehalingatma. Who is Dehalingatma? One, Deha means Sthula Deha, Linga Sukshma Deha. Sthula Sukshma Dehatma. Meaning one who is identified with the Sthula and Sukshma Deha is called Sthula Sukshma Dehatma or Dehalingatma. What is his further characteristic? Why does he perform actions? Just because of identification with the gross and subtle bodies, what happens to you which makes you, which compels you to perform action, or which drives you to perform action, or makes you perform action? Because you become Vasana Rupi. How do you become Vasana Rupi? Vasana rupayitum sanchetum shilamasthasti vasana rupi. In pratyaya, tachilya. In vasana rupi means vasana rupayitum sanchetum shilam, one whose nature it is to accumulate sanchetum, accumulate vasanas. This fellow with certain individuality arising from identification with gross and subtle bodies will accumulate vasanas. Because the sense of limitedness, therefore the desires, therefore avidya, kama, karma, he will be compelled to perform karma. So karma phala will be there. So then that is vasanas, karma phalas will be imprinted and will result into karma some other time. Will further karma phala. Farma karma. So says, Tina punah punah karma pravruti nimittena avichindena ityartha. These vasanas are accumulated because of performing karma. When you perform karma, you accumulate vasana of the tendency to perform karma again. And that karma produces an outcome which again creates vasana in terms of ragadvesha. So two kinds of vasanas are there. Ragadveshas are the result of response to karma phala. And you perform karma, therefore that habit or tendency of repeating the karma also happens. So therefore, all these are the karma pravruti nimittena avichindena. The vasanas are karma pravruti nimitta. They are nimitta, the cause for pravruti, the action of karma. Setting into action the karma, setting into motion. Karma is set into motion by the vasanas. It is the nature of vasanas to set into motion the karma. They will create compulsion inside. So, nahi kaschit kshanapi jato tishthatya karma krit karyate hyavashah karma. The vasanas inside make this person helpless. They make him perform karma. So this is the ignorant person who is Dehalingatma and Vasana Rupi. Merely Dehalingatma may not be a problem, but Vasana Rupitva is a problem. You may function through Deha and Linga, Sthu Deha, Linga Deha. You may have working identification also to perform your Vyavahara. But as long as working identification is there, the real identification, you not become the Sthula Sukshma Deha. So long vasanas will not be there. Meaning all vasanas are exhausted, we will believe. Which were the obstacle to abiding in knowledge, they have been all gone. That's all Dehata Buddhi. That vasana is to be eliminated in course of time. Therefore, even when we follow the values and right attitude, we are driving away those vasanas, by the way. It is this Dehata Buddhi which alone makes us violate the values. So Deha is its own agenda. And that agenda usually will militate against the agenda of the universe, because as in the individuality comes, swartha comes, selfishness comes, and that will militate against universal agenda which is unselfish, So when we are identified with this body, mind, sense complex, we have our own agenda that will usually go against the universal agenda. which is Ishvara's agenda, which comes from freedom from any individual identification. So you can see why Lord Krishna says what he says, why Lord Krishna teaches the attitude that he does, that we progressively become free from the personal agenda. Because it creates conflict with the universal agenda, it binds you and creates dukkha for you. Anyway, that's by the way. So we are connecting that Bhagavad Gita teaching with all this, So where that teaching comes from, if you understand that, then we can do things more intelligently. So the first line is a description of an ignorant person, who is Dehalingatma and Vasana Rupi. Then second line is description of a wise person. So first ignorance is described. To explain the nature of wisdom, first ignorant person is described, in contrast to which the wise person is being described. Then we know what the nature of wisdom is. Neti netyatma rupatvat name karya kriya kvachita. Now his mindset changes completely. Basically, wisdom means transforming the mindset, you can say. So, wise person mindset is completely transformed. And the transformation process was initiated by the attitudes of karma yoga and values, etc. That's all of that is nothing but transforming the mindset. And when with this we have essentially transformed the mind, then knowledge takes place. At the final stroke, like the sculptor. So fine tuning. When most work is done by the yoga of attitudes and values. Of course, accompanied with is knowledge, because that makes it very clear. When I know what is the origin of these values and attitudes, then I know that I am not obliging anybody, it is for my own good, etc., etc. More clear it becomes. Less difficult they become. Because what is inside me so far becomes a burden or an obstacle to my being, my adopting the values and attitudes, what is inside me right now, which is because of the ignorance. So knowledge is to apply it this way, as to how this value or attitude is the right thing to do. It is for my benefit. By being good person, I am not obliging anybody. By serving someone also, I am not obliging them. I am obliging myself. More clear it becomes. More sense of compulsion, more sense of hurt, more sense of rejection, all that goes slowly. It otherwise remains. Because of lack of understanding. We do not connect our values and attitude with this understanding, with this basic knowledge. That is why. They remain floating, Puja Swami's words, they float, in the stream of mind. Like sometimes a jet plane, because of accident, parts are floating in the ocean. So these things float in the mind. They are not connected. The values, attitude, etc. are not connected. So then their place is not seen. I try to follow them because I am told to do, then I believe that they must be right, etc., etc. But it has not become my conviction because I don't see their place in terms of creating fulfillment in my life. So when, as a result of this, knowledge takes place, that means that because Lord Krishna described the values also as jnanam. Etad jnanamiti prayuktam ajnanam yadatonyatha yadata anyam anyatah. What is opposed to this jnana? Amanitvam adambitvam is jnanam. Because from this jnanam these values come. That is, it is this jnanam which helps a person follow the values. That's what I mean. Values are no doubt in keeping with the nature of the self. But who is the person who can freely follow the values? One who has the understanding that this is the nature of self and this is what is most beneficial, etc., etc. Neti nityatmanuvatvat name karya kriya kvachira idanim. Now, he says, as long as I was ignorant and they were identified with gross body, subtle body, entertaining all kinds of notions about myself, and they felt compelled to perform the various actions, idanim now, me name karya kriya kvachita idanim now, me mama kriya na kriya karya kvachit, no karma is to be performed by me. Why? Neti neti atma rupatva, my atma rupa is changed. Formerly dehalinga atma I was, vasana rupi dehalinga atma I was. Now atma rupa, neti neti atma rupa I am now. You follow? Now I am neti neti atma rupa. Formerly I was dehalinga atma. Now neti neti atma. What is neti neti? Deha I am not, linga I am not. So neti neti, two netis are there. Therefore, what are they dismissing? They are dismissing deha, sthula, sukshma deha as atma. They are not dismissing that they are not existing. That they are not atma. You are not that. Now in the wake of knowledge I see that deha, gross body I am not, linga, subtle body I am not. Therefore, from Dehalinga Atma, it's turned to Neti Neti Atma. You follow? Neti, very beautifully expressed here. Netyatma Rupatvad. Idamena Neti, Neti Ityadina Ukta Atma Surupatvad. What Neti Neti says? Neti neti ukta atma rupatvad. So that samasa is explained as neti atma rupatvad. Netina ukta atma rupatvad. Atma rupatvad, now I am of the nature of atma. Ukta which is stated by neti. Formerly I was dehalinga atma. Now neti neti ukta atma. So what neti neti say that you are not deha, you are not linga. You are not sthula deha, not linga deha. So from me now that has gone away. So now Atma Rupa remains. As what? Ham Brahmasmi. Because that I am. Upon that these things were superimposed. When that goes away, then of course what I am always remains. Neti neti ityadina ukta atma surupatvat. Dehadvaya abhimana abhavat. What it means is that now I am free from abhimana. Identification dehadvaya, the sthula and sukshma deha. Kvachit karya, name karya. Kvachit, kwa means kvachit nowhere. Anywhere. Kvachit means nowhere. Na kvachit nowhere. Nowhere do I have to perform the action. So here it includes swapneva, jagareva. When I am conscious in the waking state, I don't have to perform any action. But that consciousness gets extended to swapna also. In swapna also I find myself free from the compulsion of performing action. So that vasana also will be eliminated. Karya kartavya swabhavatah viditah va. You say two things are there. Swabhavatah, my own mind prompts me to perform action because of its desires. Viditah, because all the scriptures compel me to perform action by vidhi, by commanding me, by do's and don'ts. They said there are two sources of action. One is my own mind, which compares me because of its needs, desires, etc. Other are scriptures, which compare me by reminding you of my place in the scheme of things and participating in the scheme of things, which I also may do. A conscientious person will do it himself. Hey, this is what I am supported, I am receiving this, so I must respond. So though that also doesn't remain. That is there as long as there is an identity. Identity is not that I am not part of any setup also. That's called the sannyasi. But then those days sannyasis have walked out, they didn't remain in the setup. You follow? That means when they say Bhikshacharyam Charanti, he does not remain part of the setup, does not remain the recipient of any obligation or the support by the setup. And therefore he is clear, conscious, clear that I don't have to respond. Even as a sannyasi, you remain in the family and then you always receive something and then you have the duty. Doesn't matter what your assumption is about you. The fact that you are a part of a setup, you have to respond to the setup. Anyway, that's by the way, so that is why Bhikshacharyam Charanti. Pravrajanti. They are no more part of a setup of family or society. They are totally surrendered to Ishvara. Therefore, kriya na karya svabhava kvachit, at no time. At the same time, two compulsions svabhavataha viditaha. Either my own mind compels me to perform action, or the injunctions they do, there is no more compulsion from either sources, neither in waking nor in dream. So that is how comes back to the original argument of how moksha is only result of jnanam, not of karma, and then next one will say not jnana karma samuccaya also. Okay, we'll continue. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeri Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.